we thank you for joining us. If you'd be kind enough to silence your phones and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. I got a pretty good idea what most people want to hear. That's fine. That's why we're doing it tonight. But this is our regular board meeting. We do have a number of items to cover, and so we will be going down through them by the list. If any of you have the agenda, you can see where we're going. All right? Roll call, please.
Dale Jernstedt.
Here.
Jim Heath.
Here.
Danny Clark. Jim Chapman.
Here.
Denise McFarland. Here. Gary Todd.
Here.
Roger Carroll.
Here. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the minutes in front of you. First for the regular April 11th meeting, and second for the special meeting on April 14th. If you take a second to read through those. Motion to accept April 11th, is there a second? Motion second, any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, same. April 14th, folks. Motion, is there a second? Motion and second to approve the April 14th special meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? None. Okay, treasurer's report?
Balance in the general fund as of May 4th, $570,383.06. Balance in the sewer fund as of May 4th, $698,100.06.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the general fund treasure of $570,383.06 for the sewer account in the amount of $619,100.06. I move they be accepted.
Is there a second? I'll support. Motion support to accept the treasurer's report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Sewer report, Troy can make it here tonight, but Jen does have a
No, I
little.
don't have that information.
Okay, okay, my apologies, it's not that I will sign. Okay, so, that being said, let's go directly to old business. First item of old business is, the library fund. We made kind of a consensus that we wait and see what we heard from the general public. We have not heard anything to my knowledge. As I said before, I don't have the shelf that way. As I said before, the Big Rapids was very adamant that it was 3/10 of a mil, period. I don't agree with their interpretation of the law, where 3/10 of a mil is required by state law to be paid by a hosting agency, but not contract agencies.
I know that's what's being pushed by the state in order to generate money, but that's not the way to go. I did contact the, Green City Library, and they indicated they were very interested in seeing all of the penal fines and, providing our residents with free access to to their library, and not the $75 that Big Rapids want to charge. Just to let everybody know that we talked to Big Rapids, and they wanted an answer by June 1st, or they're gonna have to charge us. They said they're gonna have to charge our residents, but then they turned around and started charging the April 1st. So we have that issue to deal with. I think there was like 200, not quite 250, using the library, Big Rapids, and like 100 or 120 using the library, Green City. So at this point, I don't have a really strong recommendation. If the board would like to consider something, discuss something, or table it, that's up to you. I asked them about coming down and talking to us, but, and I thought they were going to, but we got this letter instead, so they said they were going to, come down this time. Let us discuss it.
Well, I think we need to have a meeting with the library to figure out if the city library wants, you know, we can just get in. Saying we can't. So,
You want to try like a special meeting and then see if they can join us one at a time? Something like that?
get some answers.
Is that what everybody seems to be comfortable with?
Get some answers.
Okay, I'll contact them and bring something, get a special meeting, arranged, so I think we have a motion to table this at this time. Is there a second to table? Support. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, same? Okay, cool. All right, next issue on here are the park restrooms. We have suffered through those, porta johns down here, for too many years. We've had some beautiful weddings down here, receptions, class reunions. We actually, during COVID, we hosted Reed City's, homecoming games. All that time we put on those things. As you can see on the first, one of the capital improvements that we talked about was permanent residence down here. If you look, I think you have a second page where we, yeah, that's in front of it. That is the amount of the rescue plan money that we now have available. That 174,000 plus we set aside to help pay for sewer repairs. With the infrastructure grant that will come with the Goshen plant, the sewer system will be 100% paid for through that infrastructure grant. That frees up $174,000 in rescue money for us to use. So, guessing, Roger, correct me if you think it's different. I'm guessing we can end up with about 100 to 120,000. Now we get the sewer, by the time we get the septic in, the rock numbers somewhere there. Okay. Yeah, 100,000. Okay. Okay. I do have a line on a grant. We have an extremely good chance of getting that is a 50-50 match, which means that we can get them. They would help us out with 50% of the cost, which then would leave us with the balance of money. We can decide what to do, maybe the pedestrian bridge, maybe another internet tower, maybe other options. What I'm asking for the board at this time is just strictly consensus, is approval to start reaching out and finding some contractors and getting some costs and some bids on putting that up. Do we need a formal motion, or just consensus, can you start with a formal motion, and we bring it to the stuff? Yeah. Okay, well, we got a formal motion, and is there a second? Okay. All right. The grant has to be filed by, May 31st, if we're gonna get it. We've got, pretty good estimates. We talked to a couple of folks in regards to the, drain field, Kennington pump that will need to have to be an above-ground drainage field because of the, depth of the water cable. And, Roger's been doing some research on the cost of the building itself. We should be able to have those figures, what, another week or so, Roger, you think?
Probably by the end of the week.
Okay, then we'll have, then that will be enough, then we'll work next week with the grant people, and see what we can put. They did offer, the funds that, if we're interested in 50/50, some other areas too steep, so maybe the Lord, 4 or 5 bricks around the swing paved, lights outside on the parking lot, better than Gary mentioned that a year ago. See what we can do with all that, so we'll see what happens. And I'll bring it back to the board, as soon as I have that information.
So it's due by May 31st, when they're gonna hand out the award, when we'll know.
I bet I'll have to find out. I think, they talked like maybe or something here in the next month or two after the, application, but I'll double check with, I have a meeting with one of the people next week. All right? So, that was something, a lot of money to be able to do some other stuff. We'll have to figure out all that. Okay? Any other questions on that? Okay. Hearing none. Kind of the next step in the process. Well, that's fine, we got a formal motion vote. Okay, I'm sorry. Then we do have a formal motion and a formal second in regards to authorizing me to seek better prices and so on. Is there any discussion on that issue? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same? All right. Next, I think we'll start getting into what I think a lot of the folks are here for. And we did release those to the public tonight. What you have in front of you, the board, is the talking points. We have a development agreement that we need to work out with Goshen. Quite honestly, it's, I best describe it, I think, as a gentleman's agreement, because of, the amount of teeth we have to force compliance is about 0, but that is recognized as necessary long-term relationship. So I'll go through real quick, those of you that haven't had a chance to read it. Under environmental, we're asking that, talking points, we're asking that the NSDX sheets be furnished for the Goshen Paris plant to be furnished to the fire department in the Green Township. We're asking the Green Township to be provided a copy of any reports of any environmental incidents or accidents at the Goshen Paris plant. Anything that's required to be submitted to Eagle or ADA, we get a copy of. Goshen Paris should provide Green Township a copy of effluent reports. For those who are not familiar with the term, effluent is the sewage water coming out. So that is required to be tested every a certain amount of time, first by the company and then by Eagle and EPA and city wastewater. So reports that they would be turning into those entities, we get a copy of. They will make every effort to support sustainability and recycling efforts within their complex. They'll obtain all necessary state, local, and federal permits as required for environmental building zoning plan review. Employment, we have asked that any openings that come up at their plant, the initial hiring and the eventual continual hiring, that local residents get first shot. We need to work out how that's going to happen.
But those jobs are first offered. Ladies and gentlemen, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a meeting to run, okay? So as I said, we're asking that any of those jobs that come up, they first be offered to those who live in our community, first. And then, and then at that point, then whatever they need to do, fill a slot after that. We also want to require that all job incentive goals as laid out in the original agreement from September, or modification thereon with MEDC, that they do meet those goals, and when they report to the state on their progress on meeting those goals, and a copy of that report we provide to us.
Bring up for a vote.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to run a meeting. If you want to be disorderly, you're welcome to leave. You can't find the door by yourself and then well. We want you to be quiet so we can run a meeting. Okay. Now, public safety is an issue. It always is. Obviously, given my background, it's kind of important to me. So there's a couple things that we have asked. And we asked that the Goshen Parish plant coordinate with the fire departments to provide coverage for plant and law department personnel to tour the facility and keep themselves familiar with that facility, so that when they need to come in for an emergency, whether it is a patient down with a heart attack or trauma or anything else, that they get as familiar as possible. Something that some of you folks in our county are familiar with, maybe those that aren't from our county would be, but those that are county familiar with, and that is the congestion at 8 Mile at Ice Mountain with the trucks. We have spoken to Goshen that we want to work out a plan so that they have sufficient on-site parking for a percentage of their daily traffic. I know that hasn't been established yet, but those are all figures we can work on. But a percentage of their daily traffic, there is a parking area there, so if, for instance, they have any mechanical issues at their loading dock, those trucks don't back up out on 220. I mean, 220 looks like what 8 Mile does down in Goshen Township. We asked Goshen Parish to consider what's called a PELT, or payment in lieu of taxes, to help support police and fire at the complex and within Green Township. And lastly, we've asked them to, if they completed a purchase agreement with Big Rapids Township for their water system, that so that becomes their property, that they continue to provide support for the existing fire hydrants along 18 Mile Road for emergency services to have access to them for any necessary incident. Within the last section, those of you that are reading along, within the last section is governmental. The Goshen Parish will release any notice of findings in the CFIUS report, National Security Review to Green Township. The Goshen Parish shall provide Green Township a letter of guarantee that Goshen Parish will not support or encourage any activity which supports or encourages any political philosophy amongst their employees or community involved. Next is they will reimburse Green Township for reasonable legal expenses generated in researching and negotiating this project. That they will make all connections, connect all structures to generating sewage to the sanitary sewer system and pay all required connection fees and usage fees. Green Township has no obligation or liability for any costs associated with the development, planning, construction, and development, private infrastructure improvements, or public infrastructure improvements. So, for the board, your thoughts?
Yes, well, this is my wording. Obviously, the lawyers will turn it into legalese and nobody can understand. So, but no, they'll turn it into legalese and make it all proper. But that's the concept.
Can you pass the mic to them so we can hear what they're saying too, please?
So, anything else from the board on these points?
We have no idea what they said.
Can you pass the mic? Oh, now we've got selected here. Just repeat it, Jeff.
Yeah, that's fine. Hang on a second. Hang on a second.
Thank you.
Denise doesn't have my voice.
I just asked that these are talking points right now, but I wanted to make sure that our attorneys and Goshen's attorneys would make this like a legal binding document.
Yeah, that's the goal. It'll be turned over, it will be turned over to the attorneys to reword what this is the general concept. Okay? Any other comments from the board? Okay, there we go, we'll go on. The next item is, Goshen North America's presentation. Mrs. Thelen? Show us.
Can you hear me? Do I need this?
Thanks, Jim, appreciate it.
It's not for you, Jim.
I know it's not, you're doing everything properly, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for letting me appear and have a conversation with you tonight. Obviously, we've done a lot of legwork, as Jim has alluded to, and I can absolutely concur and guarantee that our legal teams will come together and make that agreement legal and binding for that development agreement. You have my word. So, thank you again for inviting me. I'm Chuck Thelen. I'm a husband, a father, an engineer, a lifelong Michigander, businessman, and I like to think, as I call myself, the redneck behind the cherry desk. Because yes, I have a title, yes, I have a big job, but on the weekends, I'm riding my tractor, just like a number of you folks. I grew up on a farm, I still farm today. I fish our rivers and our lakes, and I hunt our woods every season, every chance I get. Some would say it's not my passion, but my obsession. I'm not here to talk about my thousands of trees that I've planted or the habitat we've put in or anything of that nature. I want to talk about bringing Mecosta County into a new area of prosperity. We've heard a lot of fabricated rumors in the past months about political alignments, environmental theories, and of course the most important point, maintaining the values and the charm of our friendly conservative community. So who is Goshen? What's our values? So let's talk a little bit about the politics side if we can. Goshen is based in California, Gotion Inc. North America. Our articles and the corporation come from California. We also have an R&D facility in Independence, Ohio. We're a subsidiary of a multinational publicly traded corporation, traded in 2 different countries, one being Switzerland, and the other one being China. Yep. We're not Chinese owned or controlled by political party. Our stock is traded amongst multinational owners of that stock. Like many international companies, Goshen's parent company started in China. But again, Goshen is not Chinese owned. We are not part of the PRC. It is owned by many individual investors, and 24.7% of stock is held by VW. Now, there's been some rumors that VW has relinquished their control. I can absolutely say without a doubt that is not true. 4 of our 9 board of directors, board members, are VW and VW assigned. A rumor also said that they gave up the rights for 3 years. That is also not true. There is a 3-year clause in that purchase agreement, but it's something that I cannot go into detail tonight. But what it does is it outlines that after 3 years, they have the right to take over the entire company if they wish to. That's the bottom line. VW controls currently all of our financial activities. They're very good at finances. That's why they're here. They're also very good at quality control. They've taken over all of our advanced control for quality. They've made us a much better company with their tutelage. I did work for German companies for 21 years, and I can tell you they're very, very good at what they do. How do we fit in Michigan? Remember, if you looked it up, Michigan has more than 50 companies, 52 I think is the number, that are currently in the state of Michigan, that are international companies with ties or organizations in China. None of these companies have threatened our way of life, and they are great neighbors and wonderful job providers in areas where plants had shut down and they desperately needed jobs. Some criticize the way business is done in Asia. A lot of people criticize other countries because we just don't know their cultures, and that's okay. But please know that Goshen Inc. Goshen Inc. North America has not adopted the documents associated with the CCP in China. But you know who has signed those documents? Look at your phone. Look at your computer. Look at your shoes. Look at your patio set. Look at your lawnmowers. Okay? All of these were made in Chinese locations with articles of incorporation that were signed, very similar to ours, by Apple, Google, Nike, HP, Dell, and other American companies doing business in China. It's mandatory to do so. There is no choice. If you wish to do business in that country, you must sign these articles. Just like in North America, our articles of incorporation require verbiage on topics such as affiliates, limits, and beneficial ownerships. But nowhere in the Gotion Inc. articles is there any CCP reference made. That is because there is no place for that concept on our North America operation, and there will not be. It is unreasonable and in violation of international law to assume that the articles of incorporation of one country will be forced on other cultures. You can't do it. And rest assured that none of the Goshen locations that are currently in Singapore, India, Japan, Germany, Switzerland, Vietnam, or the USA, we've been here for 8 years, have any similar statement. There's nothing in any of those articles anywhere other than the country that demands it. As a publicly traded company in China, verbiage must be included by law, as I mentioned. As a publicly traded company in Switzerland, the articles of incorporation do not include that verbiage. It will not. In Fremont, California, which is the North America headquarters, those articles of incorporation do not reference that paragraph in any way, shape, or form. So regarding the so-called ties to CCP, it's also important to ask yourself if these outlandish claims actually make sense. I'm a proud American who has been employed by this company for 3.5 years, and I will be wholly responsible for the Michigan plant. I will be responsible. My North America boss is a U.S. citizen that lives in Texas after having earned a doctorate degree at Wayne State University and worked in Michigan himself for 15 years. Neither one of us are communists. One rumor out there is that we'll be forcing employees to pledge allegiance to CCP and speak Chinese. Why would anybody think I need to speak Chinese when my entire supply chain, my employees, and my entire customer base are American? I can tell you unequivocally that no one has ever suggested that I learned Chinese or adopted any other political viewpoint than what I have. If that was the case, I would not work with this company. The American flag proudly flies on my front porch of my house. And nothing had or could ever stop me from singing the national anthem for 18 years while I was coaching youth sports. That's who I am, that's where I came from, and I will be running this plant. On the topic of environment, I mentioned our Independence, Ohio facility a few minutes ago. Just yesterday, we had 3 Goshen scientists, experts in their field, that came up from Independence, Ohio for a day to interface and train our first responders, and also we invited the Muskegon River Watershed Authority. 2 of them hold doctorate degrees in chemistry science. And the third is a 20-year logistics veteran that was trained by the Air Force, where he served for 5 proud years. They talked about how safety is always the top priority of Goshen. They talked about Goshen and how we have been and always will continue to be absolutely transparent to our employees, first responders, and our community about our materials, compounds, and elements that we use. Most importantly, they discussed how these materials and elements that are coming to the Paris plant are 100% safe for people and our environment. Let me explain what I mean by that. The safety assurance is outlined in the material safety data sheets that anybody can find on the internet for these following compounds. The key materials we will be using is graphite, which goes in your number 2 pencil, iron phosphate, which is a yellowish powder, and lithium carbonate. We will not use elemental lithium, is what's suggested in some news stories that I saw, because elemental lithium is very volatile. Nobody uses elemental lithium in the making of battery cathodes. Everybody uses either a salt, a sulfate, a carbonate, something along these lines. So the lithium carbonate that you will find in the material safety data sheet has a combustible rating of 0. It is not combustible. It is not self-combustible. Its flash point exceeds 1,300 degrees. You can touch it with an oxy-acetylene torch, and you can't burn this stuff. So the scares about lithium self-exploding in the trucks around our city and in the plant don't make sense. Why would we invest $2.4 billion just to blow up the building? Makes no sense. Contrary to many rumors, here's another one. They're not self-igniting. As far as that goes, none of them are water soluble. If you put them in water, they float. If you look at the material safety data sheets, if you put it in water, it will not combine. If fish eat it, it does not harm them. It is non-toxic. I encourage you, but don't believe me. Look up the SDSs, which I will be sharing with both the Muskegon River Watershed Authority and with the Green Charter Township Board.
They don't care.
Lithium carbonate, is a little limerick, has been used since the 19th century in American medicines. People literally eat tons of this stuff every year. Literally eat it in the form of medication. Our Michigan facility will be manufacturing battery components, not finished batteries. The battery components we will service are for the LFP style battery. That stands for lithium ferrous phosphate or lithium iron phosphate. It is the battery that does not explode that you see on TV. It is the safest type of lithium ion battery out there. That's why we have so many customers that want our product. The second element I talked about was graphite. It's basically charcoal. Okay? Graphite, like I mentioned, goes in every number 2 pencil that you hand to your elementary school kids that go to school and put that pencil in their mouth while they're doing their homework. Okay? It is not toxic. It is not combustible. It is not flammable. So, we will not be polluting our precious lakes and rivers. I won't allow it. The levels of allowable emission control are extremely safe, and the materials that are in the process have absolutely 0 potential for a thermal event. They are not combustible. They are not toxic. In the case of an accidental spillage, they do not present a threat. We can simply vacuum them up. If a truck turns over on the highway, you simply get out a shot vac and you collect it. You cannot apply water if they do happen to catch on fire in an auto accident, and you do apply water to it, as we were teaching the first responders. You can't point it directly at it. It's kind of like pointing water at a grease fire. You have to rain the water down from the top. So there is some special handling in the case of an absolute tragic event. So the 3 materials I outlined again pose no danger to the environment, even in the case of a spill. They never come in contact with the cooling water that we will be used, that has been rumored to be that we're going to pump in the Muskegon River. If water comes in contact with these materials, it destroys the functional characteristic of the material. These materials cost $55,000 per ton. Very expensive. We are not going to destroy her material. That makes no sense. Again, ask yourself, does this make sense? All three of them have SDSs that we will reflect all this. We will turn this over to the Green Charter Township Hall and the board, as well as the Muskegon River Watershed Authority. While preparing for the detailed permit submissions that we have to submit, we have been working directly with Michigan's EGLE Department. That stands for, I think, Environmental Great Lakes Economics Department. I think I got that right this time. We've been working with them for well over 8 months. We've been going through how is the material going to get to the location? How are we going to process it? Where exactly are the buildings going to lie on the property? What kind of wetlands might we have to mitigate? What kind of streams do we have to be considerate of? How do we bring in the truck traffic from the north so that our pedestrian traffic is not encumbered by truck traffic to be the safest possible? We've been interacting with them for over 8 months. We've also been interacting with a consultant, an environmental consulting company down in Grand Rapids for roughly 5 months, and they continue to stay on our contract. We've also conducted a phase 1 environmental study on the targeted properties to ensure that even to begin with, that there's no contamination, because there's a concrete business over there. We're just gonna make sure that there's no issues that have to be cleaned up before we start. So just think about it. Bottom line, this is 1950. This is not 1950. This is not a time when we're pouring benzene and mercury into our rivers and streams. Again, I fish those rivers and streams. I'm not going to do that. This is the 21st century. We have much better controls on our manufacturing environment. So as I mentioned, we're collaborating with the Muskegon River Watershed Authority. I got their email today thanking me for the invite and the conversation yesterday, and they stated with everything we just said, they have absolutely no concern with the materials being processed in this facility. I do owe them a copy of the SDSs and a copy of the summary of the presentation. They will get that by the end of the week, as will the Green Township Board. By the way, I have to wonder out loud why some people are so strongly opposed to the plant being 1 mile away from the Muskegon River, when the entire Big Rapids industrial complex lies less than a half a mile away from the same river. I'm not asking for anybody to review them. I'm not asking for anybody to look at this. What I'm asking for is just ask yourself, if a responsible industry can act responsibly and not pollute the rivers and streams, then the river location should not matter. Goshen demands sustainable energy for our operations because we believe in living in harmony with the earth. So when someone who has no knowledge of physical science claims that Goshen plans to destroy the environment, we need to ask, does this claim make sense? Would a company install their own wastewater treatment and demand sustainable electricity and semi-sustainable gas supply and be environmentally responsible just to jeopardize the very community that we rely on in a symbiotic relationship to support a $2.4 billion investment? There's no reason why we want to alienate anybody because of an environmental issue. Does it make sense to use spontaneously combustible materials, or does it make sense to bring in materials, as I've outlined, which does not jeopardize our employees, the community, or the company's operations? Does it make sense to expel air pollution containing materials that cost $55,000 a ton? Does it make sense for a partner and a company to partner with the community and then just destroy the environment that we live in? Because all of our employees will come from this location. Let me talk about that a little bit. Last week, I met with Michigan Works, who will be doing 100% of the recruiting, and they will partner with Ferris State to do 100% of the training for this facility. I asked them, when you go to a job fair, what's your current typical expected wage for general labor? I said $14 to $16 an hour. Our starting salary will be $24.50 plus benefits. When you add that all together, with the cost of insurances, a 401k match, all of these things, you're at about $62,000 per employee. That will be our labor cost per head. And that's for general labor. Per an agreement with Green Township, I've instructed Michigan Works that we will conduct recruitment in the following manner. For the first 2 weeks of recruiting for any position, white collar, blue collar, does not matter, we will prioritize residents within a 25 minute radius of this, mile radius of this facility. If we do not find a qualified candidate from this community, we will then authorize them to then recruit from the state of Michigan for another 2 weeks. If they are unable to find the proper candidate, they will then be allowed to recruit throughout the rest of the United States, not internationally. They have this request, they have this requirement, they are working on their strategy to satisfy my requirement, and they have a number of job descriptions of positions they're going to start working on recruiting. So, I guess our way of life, our way of life will change. I think it's for the better. Currently, we export 8,500 people out of this county every day to go to work somewhere. The average Mecosta County laborer is living on the edge of poverty. They're making $14 an hour. Poverty is roughly $19,000 a year. And yes, I've heard on TV interviews that, hey, you know what, we work hard, we play hard. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to play a little bit harder because you've made a proper wage? So, I myself live hard, play hard. I totally understand all that. But what we can bring is a little bit of opportunity at financial prosperity. I urge Goshen to consider the Green Township area because I've seen since my age of 2 in this community, driving by many houses, trailers, locations. As a very good friend of mine says, there are pockets of prosperity. But when you look throughout Mecosta County and our surrounding counties, it's not a good picture. So I urge the top management to consider putting this site on the map. After a lot of convincing, I got him to agree to this. A vast majority of residents are currently living paycheck to paycheck. A vast majority. I want to help 2,000 strangers be able to pursue the financial stability that some of us have already been able to achieve. Not everybody gets that chance. A lot of us have had that chance. Many of us have not. I want parents to be able to drive to work and then they come home to where they live and have dinner with their children instead of spending another hour on the road after work to come home to a cold meal. I remind everybody that given the many false accusations of the last months, many local residents understandably have questions about our project, and you should. You should question everything. You should not allow somebody to come in here and bring in materials that would jeopardize our way of life, jeopardize our environment, jeopardize our community. You should ask these questions. That's why I helped create a 34-page question and answer document that's on the Green Township website. Please review it. If you have additional questions, please submit them. I will do my best to answer every single one of them. If I don't know the answer, I'll go to the experts and get the answer. We shared not only our company articles to put in that context, but also the rest of the information so everybody can relate to and realize that the political fears that have been fabricated have no roots in North America. They do not exist here. They will not exist here. They do not exist at any location of Goshen outside of China. After 3.5 years, I interface with my coworkers on a weekly basis. They have never experienced any kind of conversation or coercion about bringing communism to their location. Never, not once. You all have a right to know who Goshen Inc. is, and that's why I'm trying to give you some of these inputs. On a personal note, I'd like to thank the many, many people that have approached me in public voice to their support. I have literally walked in and had store clerks, tractor dealership employees, public officials, business owners, college officials, neighbors, hairstylists, students, and media professionals ask to shake my hand and say thank you for the opportunity. We don't all agree with you, but a lot of us do. These people realize that fear is an incompetent teacher. And all have relatives and friends that are waiting to apply for positions that will bring Mecosta County to our neighboring counties off the top 10 poverty list, hopefully for once and for all. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'd like to answer any of your questions. I'd also like to strongly thank the opponents who engage in respectful and productive conversation and discussion. This is how we air our differences. A respectful exchange of information and ideas, promotes the civilized sharing of ideas. So thank you again very much. God bless. I'd like to answer any questions you might have.
Some board do have some questions for you, Mr. Thelen. Ladies first, so.
All right, we've heard that property owners are being forced or strong-armed into selling their property. Is there any truth to that rumor?
We have one person that has acted as our, I'll call it industrial realtor. Somebody that was assigned to us from the MEDC. And this person has gone and approached all the property owners of property that is being pursued. Each one of those owners named their price, and we made it. We did not. This is not an eminent domain conversation. I would not participate in that kind of action. We do not have anybody selling against the will. There is a person that owns a animal rescue location that after a very lucrative offer of not only buying the property, but buying an additional property for them and building them a building, they're still tentative. They're not really agreeing to this. So that one is a property that we will probably put on the back burner for now. All the other property owners that are being pursued are actually contacting us, and they're fairly energetic to sell for the numbers that we've agreed to. No, we have not forced anybody to sell anything, and not will we.
I have a question to ask. What's Goshen's future plans with the maintenance and repairs of proposed road improvements on this project?
I'm sorry, I got hearing aids. What was the question?
Okay, what's Goshen's plan for the future maintenance and repairs of the roads that are going to be, projects that are going to be improving us?
That's a fantastic question. So you've heard about two grants. One was for 50 million, one for 125. The 50 million goes towards the property and infrastructure. We will be utilizing roughly $30 million of that. The township and the county will get the other 20 million. This will take care of all road improvements, any gas lines that have to be buried, any other water considerations, any wetland mitigation, these types of things. So the township and the county will get the remainder of that 20 million at a minimum. For the maintenance, that will be up to the state and the county. We will not maintain roads. We will completely fence off the area to make sure that safety is observed at all times. There's no acts of anything that's undesirable, and we will maintain our own property on the inside. We will also have fire suppression systems for maintenance and backup fire suppressions for maintenance. We will maintain all of that.
Okay. Next question I have too is there any policies for community involvement in the community for the area, say for support like 4-H, scouts, young sports, children, or Special Olympics?
You're singing out of my window. I support all those already. And I will talk to this company into giving me the budget for support. One of the things I just noticed is a flyer is they're looking for some donations from the Goshen County Fireworks. I'm going to pursue that. We are also co-hosting a golf outing. We're co-hosting a golf outing to support our military veterans and their families. That'll be coming up in August. And we will clearly find other projects in the area where we can help. I personally have volunteered for 8 straight years. I volunteered teaching at middle school and grade school locations. I volunteered coach for 18 years, anywhere from 3rd grade all the way up to varsity for a number of years. I'm a strong believer in internships. I'm a strong believer in technical college. Not every kid wants to go to school for 4 years. So how can we help? I've already agreed to be on the advisory board, Fair State, for the curriculum reconstruction for 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, and 4 year degrees. So I will bring the rest of my experts in there with me. We will be a large part of this community. I'm sorry?
The development timeline, has it been updated?
The timeline's a really good question. So Eagle, even though we've worked for 8 months, they say anywhere from 3 to 5 months to finish a permit submission because they have to review it. They have to review it in the Muskegon River watershed. They have to review it with the EPA and so on. I'm hopeful that since we did so much upfront work with them, we've been talking to them on a regular basis, that we can get that down into 3 months. If that's the case, I do hope to break down early fall.
And then what is, for the environment compliance and safety checks, what will be the consistency of those checks? I'm assuming like Eagle, when, during the development and then when it's up and working, what kind of checks and balances and how often is that going to happen?
Yeah, we're definitely going to police ourselves and invite people to come in to watch over our shoulder. Okay? I know a lot of those compliance, it's called continuing conformance. A lot of those are sometimes semi-annual and yearly. I don't like that. I will be hiring an entire environmental health and safety staff of experts that will put together the plan for the build and the design of the build before we even put one shovel in the ground. I will have them on staff. Those EHS experts will also be responsible for hiring the people that they need here, and hopefully we can find those directly out of this county. Those people will be responsible to hire those folks to put together the entire plan. What is the fire safety requirements? What's the bathroom sizing requirement? What's the parking lot requirements for shift change? All of these things go into design of a plan. So even though we will be hiring, we have a list of 9 very competent architectural engineering and general contractors. Even though we have this list, we will be hiring our own folks to watch over their shoulder. The people that we end up hiring to do this plant build will have already built multiple battery plants and material plants. My director of infrastructure has been with us for a year, already built 2 of these at Nissan. He's very well skilled at how to do this. So we will impose not only the required continuing conformance, but we'll impose our own continuing conformance.
All right, and you were talking about specialized construction. I understand there's going to be some contractors that do specialized construction, but for general construction, how large a geographical area are you looking to bring in these general contractors?
Same concept as Michigan works. Local contractors will have a 2-week head start. Michigan contracts will have the next 2 weeks. National will have the next 2 weeks. I can't do that for the architectural engineering and GCs because those types of general contractors are all over the nation. They're not here. There is a couple that are close, and we're definitely considering them, but I can't confirm that for them. But yes, all of the heavy earthwork, laying gas pipes, all that stuff, I have every need and intention to go local for local. We will source local businesses.
There's concerns about artificial intelligence being a threat to the job industry. What commitment does Goshen have that the approximately 2,300 jobs are going to be secure and they don't have to worry about the artificial intelligence taking over those jobs?
Wow, that's a heck of a question. So clearly, the company is designed. We have over 4,400 patents in product design and process. We already know what the machines are going to look like. We've done this for 20 years now. That's why I personally want to bring this here, to bring that technology and that expertise into the United States and into Michigan. For goodness sakes, we haven't had this kind of cutting level expertise in a very long time. That's why I'm doing this. So as far as automation, yes, there'll be automation. There are some things that people don't want to handle. For example, when you're working with some of these powders, there needs to be areas that are all nitrogen filled instead of oxygen, because if oxygen touches the material, it'll destroy the material. People can't be in that nitrogen-rich environment. So they have to go through what's called glove boxes. They stick their hands in through gloves into boxes, they maneuver things, what's necessary, or you might have an automated process to do that. So yes, there will be automation. A lot of these jobs will be running, programming, operating programmable logic controllers, PLCs, which is what I learned how to use at Ferris many years ago. So yes, you will have a degree of automation, but nothing beats a good old-fashioned human working on a project. And by the way, the materials that we produce are not only good enough for today's battery technology, but they'll also be good enough for solid state technology and semi-solid state. What that means is as the electrolyte changes in batteries, our materials for cathode and anode don't change. So our longevity is very solid because our technology of our materials and our community is not changing rapidly, more so the electrolyte.
I'm a retired firefighter from the city of Rapids, probably served for 24 years. I had the opportunity to tour the battery plant in Holland. And in the 24 years that I served on the fire department, we always did what we call pre-planning. We walked through these factories and observed the products, what was made, where the hazards were. And when I went through the Holland plant, I was stunned by the cleanliness of that plant. But I also noticed that there was a fire brigade. Will Goshen have a fire brigade? And how will the local fire departments be integrated into training with this fire brigade? Because I feel that to have a good cohesive unit in case of emergency, it would be vitally important that this training be offered to responding departments.
No, that's very good. We're a little different than Holland because they make finished good batteries. We will not. We're going to make the materials. So they have the exposure to the flammable things that we don't have exposure to. So their controls are going to be a lot more, I want to say, unique and experienced. As I mentioned, I had my 2 safety experts for North America here yesterday training the police and fire. And as they expounded upon, they have regular sessions where either they go to the fire or police stations or we invite them to our location. We go through simulations. If they they deal with a lot of electrolytes and other chemicals, they have a lot more risk than we will. But if they have a certain chemical, get away from them. They're teaching their fire and police what to do in that case. It is a symbiotic relationship. So our EHS will be another arm of your fire and police. We want to be a huge contributor to that. As far as the fire brigade, I can't answer that right now, and I'll get back with you. But I can tell you what we do in other manufacturing locations I've been at. We have an entire team of first responders. They all have a radio on their desk. If there's an issue, last company I was with, somebody had a heart event. They had 10 people at their desk in 5 minutes, right? Before the EMTs even came close. We'll do the same thing. Again, nobody's going to get hurt on my watch, bottom line. So yes, we will be working directly with your fire and police, probably to an ad nauseum level. Great questions.
I did want to ask about, okay,
Use the mic.
go ahead.
No, use the mic. Can't hear you.
Usually I don't have to use these things, but we'll think it will last. All right, what I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is, we have a meeting to run. We have things to get done tonight, but I'd like to take, let's say, 10, 15 minutes. If there are a few people that would like to ask you questions directly, I'd like to give them the opportunity to do
I'd be happy.
Okay. Grant, go ahead, your problems. Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. How many employees are there currently in the United States right now?
70.
How many?
70.
Worldwide it is almost 20,000.
Where are the final batteries going to be assembled?
Can't tell you that yet because it's not negotiable. It will be in the southern United States. Southern United States, not Mexico, and not say Mexico. Southern United States. All of our customers.
There goes other facilities across multiple states.
Correct. So we will truck to rail, and then that rail will take it to the final location.
So you took over in Ohio? Prior to this plan, what the actual organization been trying to happen prior to this plan? going on with your business? What's happening?
Within US or globally?
Yes.
Goshen, US, we don't make materials here yet. We don't make batteries here yet. The location in Ohio does, but they're for R&D batteries. They do the full battery construction there. They don't make our cathode anode materials. They order those from outside sources, and they assemble those into their experimental batteries, and they want to test on those. But they have banks and banks and banks of battery testers there. So they are probably the closest to the manufacturing. We are currently putting in a prototype assembly line in our Fremont, California location. That's under construction, but they're not doing it.
Where's the funding?
Brad, you gotta get some other people through
The
this.
funding for this project comes from the Switzerland stock sale. The money is already in the United States. It's ready to be reportioned.
All right, sir, the gentleman there with your hand, go ahead.
So each one of your trucks is gonna have about $3 million worth of product on it coming in, at $55,000, probably $50,000.
Your math is out of line.
Right, something like that. Why are you building it here and not where the assembly plant is?
Have a chance to do so.
Same reason other than any manufacturer does that. And that is because the labor pool in one area is not big enough to satisfy a mega plant of that size. 3 different studies for this area. Aside from the fact that 8,500 people leave the county every day, we have 44,000 people.
There's 40,000 people in the county, and you're saying that a fourth of those, of everybody, not working and working, leave the county. You're not even counting the ones that come in from Osceola.
That's an economic development study that just released in
That study comes to the MEDC and a third party study to be commissioned.
By the way, Eagle is environmental regulates and energy, so you know that. So next time you don't say, I don't know what the.
Well, energy, I thought it was economy. Thank you for the correction.
All right. Couple more. Ladies first again. Ladies in the back.
Nice and loud. My hearing is horrible.
Yeah. How much are you going to benefit financially from this project going through? How much are you going to make?
How much am I personally going to benefit from this project? I do not have any land that's being purchased. I do have some shares of stock in the company. Okay? I do draw a salary. So I personally am an employee. I don't get any additional money because of this project. What I get is peace of mind that I gave 2,000 of my neighbors a good paying job.
Hi. I live in Barrington, and I've seen what happened in Everett Products. Everett Products went out of business. Another company bought them over. Then they went out of business, and another company bought them over. So my understanding of lithium-ion batteries is it's a transitional state to the next better batteries that hopefully are in the future. So I don't want this plant to be built and then not be able to be retrofitted to new technologies down the way. And I know with Ferris's help, there'll be new technologies coming out, maybe to make a lithium-sodium battery, and all different kinds of ones that can happen. Can this plant be retrofitted for technologies of the future?
Great question. What's the longevity of something? Is it sustainable? And the answer is, what's being sold in the market today, everybody's got a phone, right? That's a lithium-ion battery. Usually it's an NCM battery. It might be a different oxide of lithium, but that's what it is. As batteries get more and more advanced, what you do is you work on the secret sauce, which is the electrolyte. We're not making electrolyte here. We make the standard materials for the anode and cathode. So those electrolyte plants should be very concerned because they're going to change almost every 2 years. Our product, when it goes into the finished goods location, will fit in the battery can the same exact way no matter what the medium is in the middle. The battery finished goods assembly has to worry about that because going from a liquid to electrolyte to semi solid, which is like a gel, very easy. When you go from a gel to a solid state, that's a whole different process. So yes, as batteries get better and better and better, you're going to see transitions into better stuff. And honestly, we have every 6 months, we have a new way of building stuff that goes faster, new equipment. But the battery design itself is such a huge investment, you gotta earn your money back on those tools. Right? So you don't just do a 2-year in and out kind of thing. We're advertising tools over 8 to 10 years. So this is not a flash in the pan kind of idea. But yes, all the time we read about all new technologies coming up, which is great, but just also remember, the more energy density that a battery has, the more dangerous it is. Just like when you're filling up your gas tank and you overfill it with fuel and it comes spilling out and you put your cigarette out, you're in trouble. Same with the battery. You put too much in, it's going to come out sooner or later. The LFP batteries we produce do not have that issue.
Quick time, if you got your hand up. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Chuck, I can pretty much respect your ability to come here and go ahead and discuss this with folks. And it's not going to be a picnic in front of this many people, especially with people that are against you. Okay? I've worked on a couple projects. I've worked on renewable energy, biodiesel, and ethanol. All right? I've got a little bit of an idea. But I've got 2 questions for you. Okay? My first question is that to address the concerns of the people that live here, the board is not the community. Right. They're the community. Those are not leaders, they're representatives. So, I have 2 questions. Question 1, you've addressed that the issue is the concern over the Articles of Association. And you've stated tonight that those are not present in Switzerland. Will the company be willing to reorganize and drop the Articles of Association for the project in Michigan? That's question 1. That would alleviate a lot of headache right here. Question number 2. You wanted to go ahead and have respectful, intelligent conversation. It usually works better when it works like that. However, you have folks that are very much interested in having this come in, and they have their reasons. And you have a large number of folks that don't. When you took your last question and answer meeting and put it online, in my eyes, you disrespected anybody that wanted to have that discourse. So, at what point in an honest, fair discourse you wish to put this project in? Many of us don't want this project here. I left a well-paying job and moved back here because I would prefer to live in this environment. Okay? But you're bringing it here. You moved here because you wanted to live in this environment, but you're bringing that outside here. So this is where we come to the question. All right? If you're going to look at this intelligently and have a discourse as to putting this in, is it going to work? Will the concept work? Will the project work? Will it be accepted by the community? At what point do you see that you can accept if the community does not want it and does not welcome it?
Amen.
Thank you for that very well-worded question. I appreciate that. As far as the articles of incorporation, there are no articles that refer to CCP in the state of Michigan, in the state of Ohio, in the state of California, or anywhere in the United States. So that's already taken care of.
But there are problems. Don't tell me there.
So on your second question, we live in a republic. This is not a democracy. We live in a republic.
The guy that sit down. Shut up. Sheriff, you help this gentleman to the door, please?
I'm going, but you can shut the hell up.
Have a nice day.
Hey, if you're okay with this, then bring it up for a vote.
Okay, if you're saying so,
Bring it up for a
how
vote.
about you let's answer the questions, please? Ladies and gentlemen, how about if you answer the questions, please?
Good questions, let's listen.
So that's what I was saying. I understand obviously you got a lot of questions. This is a change. It changes spirit. I get it. It's a big change. It's a big change. 2,000 people getting a different job, a different location, different technology, and buildings.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You had your chance to get some questions answered, you chose not to. All right? Thank you for your time. We'll go on to the next item. All right. Next item on the business, is the financial software update. Folks want to take, if the board wants to take a look at that. All right. All right. All right, Lieutenant. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll please be quietly. We have business to conduct. Thank you. Is that we've been using the version for many years and it's worked well, but the auditors are recommending to go through what more and more townships are doing that. Okay, and they increase the complications requirements from reports and so on. I have noted that by and far QuickBooks is the software choice for many townships, and they're making a very strong case that we need to update ours. This one you see in front of us, QuickBooks Desktop Pro Plus. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, this is not in the cloud, this stays within our, the records stay within our.
At this point in time, yes. QuickBooks is planning on discontinuing all desktop versions and going straight to cloud.
So we're going to do this soon. Okay. So I'm asking the board to consider the purchase of the Desktop Pro. We've done some checking. This seems to be about the best price, $549. Thoughts of the board?
That's one.
That's one. Yeah. There are all subscriptions now, and it's $549 a year for the subscription. All the software does that. We don't like it. We can't just outright buy it. You have to buy a subscription. But the one important advantage to this is that keeps our files on our location instead of elsewhere. This is something that we do. Yeah, like this thing here for good. Motion support. Discussion? Yeah. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Next item is the storage closet. We talked about those within the development within our financial plan for the year. And now it's coming up the time to do it. Can't go and chase down some prices. on this, this appears by far to be, the best price, and we need to be purchasing 2 of these, right? We need to be purchasing 2 of these to be, put in the vestibule for, storage of, paper products, cleaning products, that type of thing. Not available to the general public, it's available, locked up, available to personnel, that, we need 2 of them, yes. Down within laws, bringing that, storage spots out of the sewer, and, make that room more available, we used it for a couple of times, including the last election, for a breakout room for another items, so we need to implement that space, those cabinets are in the way. I believe they come assembled, if not, Doug's round. Yeah, we got a cabinet, we just pick them up cabinet, but it comes through the stuff, trucks and trailers, we go get it. Is there a motion to approve the purchase? That's correct, 2 of them. Yes. Motion to purchase 2 at the listed prices are set. Motion and support for the purchase and discussion. Roll call, please. Yes. Yes. Next item is Hope Network worksite agreement. Hope Network, non-profit organization, provides us with cleaning personnel, which serves as a training for their clients and a additional service for us. Not much change from prior. Okay, this is pretty much the same thing we've been working on for many years. It's just signed many years, signed a new contract. Yes. Well, motion to accept the 2023-2024, that's second. Okay. Motion second to accept this worksite agreement with Home Network Development Services. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, they did a wonderful job for a number of years for us. It's good that we can go away for it. So it's good project for us.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Okay. Next thing is looking at office chairs. That's the way it is in the package. We've been making do in the clerk's office. One of the deputy clerk has learned using the chairs to go home because we were short chairs. The other chair that the assistant clerk is using is loaner. That loaner apparently been very satisfactory to the clerk's office, and so they're asking for us to purchase a loaner or to replace the one that they brought home. We go plus one for the clerks. 15 years old? Yeah, it's time to replace the clerk's chair also. Yeah, did you get one? Did you get a copy? Yeah. Okay, well, that might be me. All right. So, we're looking for a motion to approve the purchase of each chairs via the listed price. Second. Okay. Discussion, I will make the note that this price includes Amazon. That's another discussion. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Okay. FYIs, we'll go through them. The first one is to notify you that Township was the subject of a cyber attack. We had a significant amount of software and some hardware damage. The ladies who we, this is not a discussion point, that would be outside, we're trying to run a business here, please. If you can take it down a notch. All right, we did get hit. We've lost the switch that we're going to have to replace. ISI is one of theirs. When this cyber attack hit us, it also took down part of their network. They own us a switch. We're going to replace the switch. We haven't got a price on it yet. We had lost a router, both of which were damaged when apparently, if I understand it correctly, whoever hit us on their way out, they're wiping lawns and trying to cover their tracks, and you also do damage. I think we can get the router to live along for a while. Now we can space it out. ISI, this kind of a bunch of their hours to help us get through this, and still we're looking at a significant expense there. We haven't found any damage like the files or missing files or anything. Our phones were damaged, they're still not up and running right, but this is one of the things we did think about. Is anything, Steve? Number two, just for folks that try and get services from us, Freedom of Information Act, apparently there's a group, there are some people that decided that they could prove some grand conspiracy by filing FOIAs. Well, FOIAs are their right to file. Okay, we average one about every 6 months in our township. We've handled 11 of them in the last week, plus 2 more came through over the weekend. This, by law, has to be handled expeditiously, which means it's a significant amount of township services we have been unable to provide because we've been tied up by law servicing all these, wanting copies of emails, wanting copies of files, wanting copies of whatever. People have the right to ask for it, and they know what they think they're going to prove because it's nothing there other than more paper. But they have the right to file, so we have that issue, and we'll provide services as best we can. Let the board know that our assessor just got back from some more training. His level, if I understand it right, his level is one of only 8 people in the state of Michigan for that level of service. So we're going to be fortunate to have his services. He's back Monday, and back in Frankfurt and taking let's see what else. Election. I'll let you do that.
The May 7th election was a low turnout as to the regard to public school village renewal, and it was a low in-person turnout, but we had more absentees voters than most in person. But it was a good day. We had everything done on time. No issues. Everything worked out well. The computer and all that sort of good lunch.
Appreciate all the people that provided us with their assistance as election workers. We didn't pay them, but that's quite the job when it goes so long. All right, anything else? Are there any amendments? Okay, no amendments. Is there a motion to pay the bills? All right. Second. Okay, motion second to pay the bills. Discussion. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen, before we go to public comment? All right. I'm sorry, but none of you are killing me, and I need to get up moving around, so we're going to exercise the chairman's rights and take a 5-minute recess. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, please.
No.
everybody's attention for a moment, please? Can I have your attention? At the sign-in table out here, somebody left their phone. If you don't have your phone, just be myself or Pat McGuire outside, okay? So if you're missing your cell phone. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul, was there a second page? Paul, quick. Was there a second page?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 6 people on the second page. Then if everybody else changes their mind, they can come on out. So,
Okay.
but yeah, we have about 6.
All right. Trying as much as we can recognize the folks. Yeah, I apologize. You're trying to read right. I think it says Harold, but the address is 22-1 2220. Who am I looking for? 22-1 2220. Address? I think it says Harold. No? Okay. All right. Rose Spence?
Thank you. Calling you honey or me? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Can I turn around at all?
You're addressing the board.
I have up here do the right thing. People heard me talk about this before. After the graphics said no, we had a meeting as well shortly after for Green Township.
Ma'am, you should, we're going
We did not get a vote. We did not get to vote. Our voice was shut down. How do you think that makes this township feel? We have a right to this vote. So what I'm asking, maybe for the third or fourth time, I've said this before, ask for a vote a couple more times after that. May we have a vote?
Ma'am, as I've explained, here, let me take this up, as I've explained before.
It's too late.
As I've explained before, this is private property being sold from a private person to a private entity. The idea of the neighborhood getting together and deciding who can buy what property, who can sell what property, is not part of our country's way of life.
We were only I'm only asking for that first initial vote on yea or nay with Goshen. I don't want to hear anything else. That's all I want to talk about is that for these people that get their voice back. It was dismissed. So what I'm asking is if you will give us a vote, and you're obviously not going to, I'm asking for this to be made part of the record. Put it in the record, you did not allow a vote.
Where's our democracy?
Anything else there?
No.
All right, thank you.
Hey guys, I'm going to be really quick because I think this is really about communism. It isn't about...
Sir, you're addressing the board, not the public.
Oh, I am? Okay, thank you. Thank you for correcting me. Guys, communism is not how nuns live in a convent. It's not how monks live in a monastery. Communism is all about, it's a pure hatred of humanity. That's all it is. And communism is how babies are slaughtered in abortion clinics. And this is what we're trying to bring here to our location here. It's communism. It's why the Department of Justice tells us that the biggest threat to our country is white people. It's why the news media tells us that when Black Lives Matter and Antifa are rioting, it's just peaceful peaceful demonstrations. This is communism. It's in our country and it's taking over. And it's going to kill us.
Thank you, sir. Steve Lowry.
He's not here, he had to leave. Can I?
All right, man, thank you.
Can I
Jim
talk for
Dawson. Names that are signed up and the names that are, we're calling. Jim Dawson. Jim Dawson.
She's the man's wife who has running because of the diabetes.
Going down through to other township residents, Debbie Todd.
Good evening, my name is Debbie Todd, I live in Hersey, and I do own property in Costa County, and I would like the questions that I have entered into the record, please. And I would like to begin by saying that making a FOIA request does not make me a conspiracy theorist. It makes me someone who wants to get the facts, because that's what I wanted, the facts.
Yes.
I made a FOIA request to Green Township about the 2 water wells that you guys keep referencing that will be used by Goshen. And you responded to that. I then made a FOIA request to Big Rapids Charter Township because the response was that the 2 wells are owned by Big Rapids Charter Township. And the response that I got back to my FOIA request is that there has been no official request or communication from Goshen to use those 2 wells. Of those 2 wells, one of those 2 wells is not functional right now. It would need to be worked on. The other well produces 375,000 gallons per day on the average. The maximum that it could produce is 720,000 gallons per day. I believe everything I've heard is that Goshen needs 715,000 gallons of water per day. And you would have to have a vote from Big Rapids Charter Township for them to be able to use that water. The next thing is I made a FOIA request to see your master plan. And what I was able to look at was what's called a recreational master plan from 2006. And it was about this stone hatchery. It is not a master plan, it is a recreational master plan. And in that, on page 4, it says goal 2, preserve and protect important agricultural and forest lands and maintain a rural atmosphere of the township. Limit higher density uses in existing agricultural areas designated as important agricultural lands. Encourage the preservation of wooded areas, especially along the Muskegon River, which does not go along with what Goshen plans to do. And because you have a master plan that is my understanding was developed in 1999 but never approved, so it's not functional or operative right now, Green Charter Township would be covered under the Costa County Master Plan from 2014. And a few things I want to highlight from that is on page 50, future use plan. Prime farmland and agricultural uses in particular should be preserved and protected. On page 51, one of the primary goals of the county is to maintain the rural and resort character of the county and to preserve and protect existing farming and agricultural land uses. On page 73, Green Charter Township, the future land use plan recommends that existing areas designated for agricultural use be preserved and protected from the encroachment of any proposed development. Page 74, Green Charter Township, further development for industrial purposes in these areas is highly discouraged. Again, that goes against everything that Goshen is trying to do here. And lastly, I would like to say, I don't know if you people are aware, but around March 1st of this year, China enacted conscription. Conscription is the same thing as our draft. That means that they're getting ready for boots on the ground for Taiwan. We have training of Taiwanese troops up in Grayling. Think about what you are doing to this community.
Jeff Thorne.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I find it kind of funny that, well, thank you, Mr. Thelen. I'm not supposed to be talking to you guys, but for being here tonight, Vice President of Goshen, North America. I'm president. And I pondered the question often is, who is the president? Oh, lo and behold, is a gentleman named Lee Chin. When are you going to ever hear from the president of Lee Chin? As the president of Goshen, North America. Or maybe from his father, who was Lee Zin, who was the president of Goshen High-Tech of China. If you do the vetting, sorry, Mr. Thelen, but the dots do connect. If that is your parent company, which it is, and you're a subsidiary of them, however you want to spin it, okay, and to the board, basically what I'm here to say, well, a lot of things, but I don't have time. What, I got 3 minutes? Yeah? All right. Well, when you hear Goshen, talk about this project, my goodness, I've said this before, you would think that it's every bit American as baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, and Chevrolet. Woo-hoo! This is just the greatest things, the sliced bread that we need for this community. The master plan has been brought up. This does not fit in with the master plan. Okay? But you guys refuse to look at that as Township has come out forth and said that. If it's such a great thing, I don't know why Goshen has to hire Truscott and Rossman, a public relations firm, who have deep ties to state government, going all the way back to Governor Engler, to try to promote this, to sell this to it. If it's such a great thing, why is it so dang hard to sell this to the community if this is what we need, if this is such a great thing for our community? Chuck mentioned to the public safety meeting yesterday, apparently, that there's been no incidences, okay, of problems in Independence, Ohio, or Fremont, California. My goodness, they're research and development facilities. They're not, okay, a production. I think in our radio there, Mr. Thelen would correct me afterwards, said this is the first manufacturing plant of this magnitude. And if people haven't looked at this, if you've ever been on an 18-hole golf course, this is what this is the size of. 400 some odd acres of a plant, okay, it's going to radically change the face of this. Am I going to get a little 15-second mention here or whatever? Keep going. Mr. Chapman, I'm a little confused as when you say that almost 9,000 people leave here every day to work outside of our community. Then, I mean, it's a good thing we have self-serve gas, because then there wouldn't be anybody else left in town. I don't know where you're getting your information. It sounds great, okay, in the papers and on radio, that we just need this so bad. Okay, 15 seconds. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just say, the bottom line is this. Our board, bluntly, you have been played. Okay? We do not want this, and we don't need this in our community, not this company, this nation. Thank you.
First thing I want to fix from Thursday night meeting is it wasn't the Grand River, it was the Kalamazoo River that had the issue. I want to read this. It's from the Michigan University Extension. This is Terry Gibb and Maureen Nelson. It says here, individuals can have a positive impact on water quality and quantity by changing some actions to reduce stormwater. And that's what I'm going to approach tonight. As I talked Thursday night, I talked about wetlands and how it filters and the food builds up as it gets to the river, and then the fish have food and so on. So anyways, this is what it says. It's not a stretch, this committee said, to say that water is one of Michigan's greatest assets. While Michigan has a seemingly endless supply of clean water, it still faces many threats. It's up to us to protect those precious resources from potential impairments where we can. Now I'm going to talk about one of those impairments, which when you blacktop over an area that size, which is roughly, I'd say, a mile by a mile surface, and you build plants and parking lots on that. That's about what 500 acres takes in. It's about a mile by a mile. Two of the many ways in which our waters are threatened are impervious cover, stormwater runoff. It's a major problem, runoff. by your ground soaking the water up from the season and so on, like on farmlands. We run it off right to the river, and you don't go through all the symbiotic things that we need to happen to feed things in the river, specifically like fish. This impervious cover is any surface that does not allow for infiltration of water back into the landscape and the recharge of groundwater. Some examples are human-made structures such as rooftops, driveways, roads, compacted soils. That whole area is going to be compacted. And the runoff will be huge coming down and to no benefit. The implications of impervious cover on our waterways are not only on water quantity, but also water quality. As stormwater runs over impervious surfaces, it picks up pollutants and carries them to the water bodies through stormwater drains or ditches or wherever, thereby depositing contaminants such as oil, grease, from pavement, pesticides, and so on. So those are things they pick right up from the surface of parking lots and so on. He talked about jobs. Somebody talked about, said they did a survey and looked around. We have 1,700 jobs in our county. Maybe that person's here tonight. We can't fill 1,700. Just imagine pulling out 2,300 jobs more and sticking them in that plant. How that's going to affect, I heard it. So now, we have all those jobs taken away. Think of every little mom and pop, little shop, everything all around. We think we're going to really boost this community. No, it will tear it down.
Board previously discussed doing a zoning board. When are we looking at doing that?
No, I'm sorry.
The issue with zoning within the township was brought up, and it was brought up in the board meeting that we were looking at going ahead and taking over our own zoning from the county. My question is, when are we planning to do it?
The process of everything going through that part of it, probably not till the first of the year sometime. All right. Ron and Albania, excuse me, 190 Avenue. H-A-L-A-D-Y-N-A, I apologize if I'm slaughtering your name. Gentleman at 190. No? Okay. Bonnie Wilson?
That's me.
Oh. Okay. I know. You're right.
I know, it's so exciting. She's not gonna sit. So, I really have questions for that guy. Will you Papa Bear that, like, just like we do all children? You guys get 2 times to be out of hand, and then we're gonna cut this short. You can't hear me? I'm sorry, my name is Bonnie, and I speak for the trees, and the trees still say we told you no. They stung me today. I'm extremely allergic. I should be in the hospital, but instead I'm here to say, please, listen. We asked you, we told you, we bitched and we moaned, and we said, no, to the factory. It's a no-go. We don't even need to continue having these discussions because we said no. Say into a powder all over everything. I have lots of boys in my house and they have to use a powder to keep things dry. You know what I mean? Right? So, when powder gets on things and the water can't get into the water table, and if it does get into the water table, or they vacuum it up. I don't know about you, but I don't know any vacuum that can vacuum that much powder. I'm addicted to glitter. Look at my house. You cannot vacuum powder. You cannot get every morsel out of the environment. That's a micro plastic, fiber, mineral nonsense that we don't want here. We said no. Please listen. That's what your position is for, is to say, hey guys, what do you want? Do you want this factory? No! Is that my time yet?
46 seconds.
46 seconds? I can go for so long. I got stung by me. I could take like 5 Benadryls and a progesterone and a whole bunch of other stuff just so I could stand upright. And I'm dying on the floor waiting for you guys to get to the point. So we don't want this. Take it home. We don't want it here in ours. It's going to pollute the environment. It's going to hurt us. It's going to cause harm. We already know this. We've seen it everywhere else.
Matt, I believe it's ski. Is that right? Oh, sure, Matt.
I want you all to know this is the last time that I miss my daughter's softball game. Come to this meeting. I have left.
Folks, please.
Don't worry about it. I got it. This is the last time that I miss out on my daughter's softball game to come to these meetings. Because apparently you don't give 2 craps about what anybody here says. And I'm sick of it. This is the last meeting I'm coming to because nothing we say is going to get through to any of you guys. You guys know I spent 14 months in Iraq dodging machine guns and mortars and snipers, watching my brother Marines and my friends get chewed up and killed, trying to keep the enemy at bay overseas, and here you guys are letting them in. I'm ashamed to call myself an American if that's what you think you are. This is an absolute travesty, and I've had enough of it. So go get your Goshen battery plant because I'm not staying here. I refuse to raise my kids downwind of that stupid pipe.
Marjorie Steele.
Marjorie Steele, Grand Township. I'm actually going to read a letter from a friend and neighbor over in Detroit, Russ Thelen, who is an ally and sends his love and support to the Goshen County residents in lieu of his presence today. Residents and policymakers must evaluate the wisdom of placing an EV battery production factory in an area that will expand into agricultural land in a vulnerable watershed area. It is likely that vague environmental protection promises will be made by factory supporters to allay the fears of residents. Based on past and current environmental enforcement failures, I want to warn you not to place too much trust in these guarantees. One is well known to all in Michigan with water story. The water was discolored, acidic, and toxic, but state environmental enforcement was AWOL, and federal enforcement followed their lead. People died from waterborne diseases, children were lead poisoned, but elected executives had other goals, so their agencies ignored the pleas of the people. Another story is happening right now. On the east side of Detroit, a Stellantis car plant was put in a neighborhood with pushes and big money from the mayor and with state support. Residents were assured that they would be safe from factory discharges. State permits would require pollution control equipment. Those permits would come from Eagle, to clarify. No worries. But today, neighbors are being hospitalized with respiratory problems due to plant discharges. Many more residents suffer from breathing problems. It turns out that the required air pollution control equipment was never installed. State and federal regulators are not shutting down the plant, however. In fact, the city council is encouraging people to move out of their neighborhood. Keep the factory, get rid of the people. These offenses have been done by leaders in both parties. Only you can enforce your standards. And I just want to add that in regards to the environmental impact report that I just asked Randy Thelen, the president and CEO of the Right Place, about, his response was, well, that will come in time. And when I pressed him to know exactly what time, what date we could expect the report, he packed up and left without a word. The last comment that I want to make is that Chuck Thelen is a liar, and so are you, Jim Chapman.
Hello, Kyle. I'm local, but thankfully outside of Green Township. You may have seen me standing in the back of meeting rooms lately. I don't do much speaking these days, but there was a time when I was in charge of automotive manufacturing facilities. I spent 23 years as everything from an operator to plant manager for many well-known powertrain suppliers. I've been the person in charge of a plant as the primary employer for a small town, and I know the leverage that holds. In my various positions, I held posts in several parts of Michigan and many specific locations around the world. You all know the names of these places as they are famous for their industrial blight. I contributed most significantly to trichloroethylene in groundwater, airborne pollutants, and tainting the Muskegon shoreline, but I also facilitated freight exodus of manufacturing from the U.S. to Mexico, India, Turkey, China, and Russia. In Michigan, I've seen people turn blue from constant chemical exposure, been perpetually surrounded by operators with brain tumors, and have investigated sudden fatal incidents too violent and personally painful to explain here. All in plants that are operating within legal limits continue to function with minor fines after massive life-altering events or environmental contamination. I may not know large-scale automotive manufacturing, but I do. I know it from Battle Creek to Bangalore, from Muskegon to Moscow, and from Sparta to Shangsha. It's a lot uglier than you imagine. Intellectually, I'm opposed to the Goshen installation based on its proposed water volume usage, lack of environmental impact report, total disregard for community input, inherent supply chain nightmares, dubious ownership, and lack of tax obligations for a facility that would create large infrastructure burdens. In my heart, I know from experience this plant will bring death in one form or another. You don't want to carry that weight. Thank you.
I'd like to address what I perceive to be one of the most important issues, and that is the communist Chinese ownership. I know that opponents to this have cited on a regular basis verbiage that was posted on the Goshen website concerning Goshen, China, and adherence to communist rules, etc. I want to explain why that is totally impossible here for one reason. It's against the law. The law in this country does not allow for adherence to the rules and regulations and laws of the foreign country. The opportunity that this community has
to bring high-paying jobs and to bring some positive results to a county and an area that is poor by any standards in the state of Michigan is a tremendous boost. And to use the communist Chinese as a basis for denying this is ridiculous, because this illegal contract would not be put forward by any corporation because it's illegal. And if it's illegal, it's a void contract. If it's a void contract, the Goshen company would have no benefit whatsoever in contracting at all. So the fact that it's an illegal contract is why this is a ridiculous statement by those who would use it in opposition to it.
Carrie Turnbull.
I'm from Barrington, Sheridan Township, so there's Green, Grand, Chippewa, Fork, and I'm going down south, which is Sheridan Township. I can't believe I'm here talking about this because, number one, I'm a water protector. And for 20 years, since 2001, I've been fighting against Nestle with Michigan Citizens against Michigan Citizens for Water Conservation. So I've had water is life signs in my hands many, many times. When I look at this whole conundrum that we're in, my husband said to me, Karen, what would you do if this were in your backyard? So they got me thinking about it in a whole different way, because when it's in your backyard, you're called a NIMBY, not in my backyard. If you want to do your research on that, look it up in Wikipedia. It's tough, it's really tough, and if this were in my backyard, this is what I would do. First of all, I would look at it from the triple bottom line view. Triple bottom line means you look at profit, planet, and people. The 3 P's. Profit, planet, and people. So of course with profit, there's lots of pros. But what I see as a con with profits is what does the workforce make? Now I saw what happened with Nestle. There are the white collar folks are making good money, but the blue collar folks can barely, they're working paycheck to paycheck. So I think we, all of us in the county, need to learn from that. I live in Barrington where I could see 50 folks that really need these jobs and that would come here for these jobs. But I guess I'm privileged. I grew up in Detroit. My father worked for GM and I'm a UAW baby. And I have privileges because of my father's union background. So I know union is a bad word supposedly in Mecosta County, but I've been here since 1972, so if you're younger than 50, you might be able to talk with me about it. Next one is the planet. The man came up and talked about groundwater. Definitely, that's important to talk about. The last thing is people. I think if it were in my backyard, I would be organizing myself right now about what do you want? What can you get out of this? And I think that as a board is hopefully that you can do this for your people. So, and if you'd like, I'm going to give more information, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Kimberly Herring.
Mr. Thelen, Chuck Thelen, not Randy, stood up and introduced himself and then described to you who's Goshen. I can honestly say that his presentation was 90% full of bold-faced lies. Mr. Thelen, Mr. Messer, Mr. Randy Thelen, Jim Durian from Meta, Josh Hunt from the NEDC. I can out-calculate you. I can out-economic theory you. I can out-engineer you by a long shot. I can MSDC, I'm sorry. And I don't have to hire anybody to do that. I have them all in my back pocket. They're all my family members. Mr. Thelen wanted to talk about Goshen not being Chinese help. Well, the yuan is a unit of Chinese currency that is traded on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange. The symbol looks like this. That's not the yen. That's not the symbol for the yen. Yesterday, the stock closed at 27 yuan. The exchange rate is 1 yuan to 14 cents American dollar. 14 cents. The 52-week high for that stock was 51 yuan. Now either there was a stock split or something else happened, and I guarantee you he's being paid in stock from that engine.
Can you summarize that?
He also brought up the fact that 24% was held by VW. Let me remind you, the largest class action suit in this country was the tobacco industry. The second largest class action suit in this country was the BP oil spill. The third largest class action lawsuit in this country was VW to the tune of $14 billion. Right. The next largest, number 4, was Enron. I worked on Enron. Thank you.
Thank you.
I yield the floor.
Mr. Hood? No? Okay. Tim Ziner? Or Thomas, or...
I got somewhat involved in some local politics just 2 years ago, except when I waited a long time to do it. But the reason I did is because I saw too much of this kind of stuff. I saw boards, local boards like this, mistreating the people that elected them and represent them. And I think it's important to hold boards somewhat accountable. It seems to me that you're treating your constituents disgracefully in every aspect. And that's why I came up here to talk. It seems obvious that the majority of your constituents do not want you to be doing what you're doing with this plan. And if there's any doubt about that, what I would suggest is you delay any further action on this long enough that a recall could be done on your feet. That a recall
Jeremy Quacko.
My name is Jeremy Quaco. I'm from Monmouth County. I gotta ask this board that you guys consider the 30-year plan. The money is going to take to keep this business here. $20 million sounds great and all, but it will burn off really quick. You're gonna have to replace that road every year. And if you don't, Goshen will sue you. And he sold this pipe dream, so that ain't here anymore, of a project, and it is a pipe dream because you gotta be smoking a pipe or you're dreaming. What he's selling is what it's gonna be. To sit up here and say a manufacturing plant of 2,000 people, nobody's going to get hurt, there's no accidents. I mean, that is a dream. Ocean State, 6.6 out of 100 people are injured a year in manufacturing. So that's 130 some people a year just at Goshen, one every other day. And that's if they're on average. I notice this is more risky. The concept of these chemicals not being dangerous because they're not water soluble. And all that means is it doesn't bond with water. It still mixes in. You can die from salt water poisoning, but it's salt is not soluble in water. It still gets in the water. It's still getting the air. It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't hurt the water, but it hurts the people consuming the water. That's what the people here are afraid of. It's too bad Chuck did take a glass of his chemicals and he talks about us eating crap like his kids. You know, he should have consumed some of those chemicals and prove that. This is as safe as what it is. To translate some of his little pitch there of helping the employment, all he is saying is that this community is poor and dumb, that we don't know what we want here. The people of Green Township don't know what they want, that they need somebody else to tell them what they want. The people here, I think, prioritize people over profits. They prioritize, money is not that big a deal that we're doing. People move up to the country for that. I travel an hour to work every day, so I can live in the country and work in the industry. Obviously, there's more money in the city, but there's consequences to that. But we don't want to bring the city here. And it's not just a plant. It's going to be the people. 2,000 people that are not going to be your local people. You don't have 2,000 unemployed people, right? I don't guess. I mean, the studies he does are based on demographics. And nobody in this room, I'm sure, had Chuck come knock on the door and see if they wanted a job in Goshen. You know, there was no outreach to the people. It's just demographics. It's numbers. I really focus. At any point in time, you guys can put a stop to this. All you have to do is make a stance that you don't support this project. And whether you do or don't, it doesn't matter. It's the representative of your community. This isn't a 60-40 issue. You know, it's a 90-10. I know it's not 90 in support of this. This is 90 against it, if you haven't realized that yet. But we all have to live with a decision here. I really, really hope you guys think about this before you go to bed. Every day is a new day. Short questions. Don't go down this way. Thank you. Thank you.
Jessica, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's the term harvest the officials, and then you can harvest the whatever you need.
And if you wouldn't mind, you start the board, come over over here.
Yes, sir. No problem. I know that you can hear me back there. Harvest the officials, and then you can harvest the land, or the minerals, or the water, or the wind, or the sun. That's been the standard for over Mount County. That's what happened. The company, the big industrial wind company, came into the boards, to the trustees, to the supervisors, and they wined and dined them and kind of back to the community for a while. And they did a lot of under-the-table deals, and once they harvested the officials, they knew that they had them in their back pocket. it was, they thought, a done deal until the community found out about it. And the community expressed that they are not in support of this, or that project, and right now this project. I was blown away by the fact that the local humane society said that it is too dangerous to house their cats and dogs in the footprint of this battery plant. Okay, that should say a lot. If the Humane Society says that it's dangerous for animals, what does that say about the people? What does that say about the community members here? Do we not care? Do we really care about the dogs and the cats over the humans, our next generation? It's just really confusing. I'll state it again, I'm the Lorax and I speak for the trees. I speak for the birds, and the foxes, and the bears, and the deers, and the sandhill cranes, and the trout, and the bass, and everything else that is abundant in this area. The eagles, the raptors. I cannot believe that you guys are even considering this to be a good deal, or a good situation, a good opportunity. It's not. Obviously, month after month, the community is coming out and they're saying, we don't support this, we don't want it here. Guess what? The community doesn't want it, so maybe you guys should listen. Put it up for a vote. You know, look at your surrounding communities that did that. That was a really honorable thing to do. They reached out to the community. They wanted to know how the community felt about this proposed battery plant. It shakes me to my core that you guys don't care, or you at least appear to not care, because any time that anybody brings up bringing it to a vote, you guys just brush it off. Just brush it off. $95,000 an acre, that would be a really hard one to not take. That is also disgusting that you are willing to sell out your community for $95,000.
Joe Bayshaw.
Yeah, my name is Joe Bayshaw, we graduate Township. I think the two ladies that actually asked some questions, that was good. I mean, it was good to hear that you had some concerns. My question, being that the original application that you folks voted on for the rent zone, all those criteria have changed so much. Along with Goshen's and Right Place's application to the MEDC. The original was 50,000 tons of chemicals. Now it's changed to over 200,000 tons. They said on the application that there was a railroad running, traversing through north to south, south to north, through Big Rapids. So there's some changes, obviously. So my question, I think you folks probably have the ability to ask for a renewal of a vote for that Renaissance zone, because their facts and figures have changed. Big Rapids Township was included, now it's not. The size of the buildings have changed. I think it's over $1 million, $2 million, or whatever it is now compared to what it was. It was just one building. So there's a whole lot of things, ways out for you folks to represent your constituents. And now I asked both Thelens tonight if they would support and maybe even finance a public vote on this. And one wouldn't answer, and the answer, the other one, Randy, basically said, I wonder what they would vote on. I goes, that wasn't my question. Would you support and help finance a public vote for Big Rapids and Green Township? Because as things have changed so much already from the original application, that you have here, Jim, that anything is going to be the same. By the time they get this built, they may be building batteries. We don't know, because they have changed, and there's no guarantees. So, board members, I would ask you, would you look into that and write a contract?
Can I go ahead and summarize, Joe?
I am, I'm asking you a question. Yeah?
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right.
Don Menard. Tom Menard. Okay. Terry Everett.
Township. A little disappointed to have more left already instead of hearing all the public comments. Chuck Thelen, one of the Thelens, was quoted as saying that if he believed the community did not want Goshen here, that they would stop, they would leave. I'm wondering what it would take to convince Goshen that the community doesn't want them. I'd be interested in hearing a response from the community as well. And I support the idea that people saying that they'd like to take a vote and have some solid numbers that actually support the opinions that we've heard come from some of the people on the board. Goshen and Independence, Ohio has been referenced several times, at least in social media. And I have to be able to find any kind of information on it. I can find the address, and if you do a Google street search, you can see a sign outside a building with 4 different addresses on it. And one of the items is Goshen. And from what I understand, it's an R&D facility, whatever, but there's no information to be found on that. And finally, what this is going to do to the environment, most of us moved up here. For me, it was moving up here. For others, it was moving from the other side of the state, whatever. This area was historically a place where people come to vacation and recreate, and the summer cottage industry is a big part of the economy that we have here. And this is going to affect that considerably. I know there's something else that I forgot to ask. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Paul, could you bring me that other list, please? Minnie Smith.
Thank you guys for taking the time to listen to us tonight. I just have a couple questions. Jim, the board, do you guys have a zoning board yet? Planning and zoning board?
It's under the county.
Huh?
We contracted, the county handles.
So the county is still who Goshen has to go to?
Yes.
Okay. So when is your planning and zoning, when is that effective?
Probably by the time everything is done, not until the first of the year.
Okay, because on this form that you have on your site, it says the effective date is June 17th. It was adapted on the 14th. Doesn't matter, it just says that it's effective the 17th. So, but it doesn't take place until the 1st?
No, there's a lot more work to do now. to get everything up and going, so it'll take this first year before things are up and running.
Okay, who is on the zoning board? Do you know that?
That's not been determined, that's one of the things that happened.
Do you have your township citizens apply?
We have a list, we have some people, in fact, I've had people speak to me tonight.
Okay, so they're interested, they need to speak to you or the other board members, correct?
I'm putting together the list of the board yesterday.
Okay, I just want to make sure you have the opportunity to be part of your planning board. The other thing I'd like to say is, I don't know if it's on disclosure forms. Have you guys signed any? Because there's been a confusion saying that you guys have.
No.
Okay. My concerns are my environmental studies. Have they been done yet?
You'd have to talk to the folks that handle that stuff.
Okay, who would that be?
Eagle.
Eagle, okay. In my, just the wildlife and everything is my concern. They keep saying that CCP is not involved, but I'm just wondering if you guys have talked to John Mueller, Pete Hoekstra, Trudy Dixon, Ryan Colley, the retired conservation officer in the area that all have concerns about this. They're all trying to warn you on what's going on, what the truth is. And if you guys have not talked to them or have any information on that, I'd be pleased to give you letters and videos of their concern. I believe that's all I have to say. Just think about your people, listen to your people, and I appreciate your time.
Variety of things to say. Different subject, totally different. So, here's
Just like the switch on the top of that, upward. I'm not sure it's on.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. So a variety of things to say, totally different subjects. Why were only select fire departments invited to be at the safety meeting yesterday that 910 News reported on yesterday? Because Big Rapids Township, the city of Big Rapids, and the city were the only ones invited, from what I understand. And the city and probably the township has contracts with townships outside of that will respond if there is some kind of, emergency.
That was a choice of Chief Schroeder, those are the normal auto aid.
Okay.
I believe that was the standard. But that was the choice of Chief Schroeder.
Okay. And as far as if there's a fire, would there be an offensive or defensive attack? And if there's a defensive attack, I'd like everyone to realize that that means a surround and drown, which means tons of water, which means a massive runoff of whatever chemicals that are being sprayed. So, everybody knows, do you know what kind of
That is what, Ladina, it's way too far down the road to be designing any type of attack system. Plus that would be involving a variable that would, the incident is, the size, location, manpower. There's way too many variables to be able to give you an answer, and I think you're already aware of that.
No, I'm not, actually. Because my husband's a firefighter and those are his questions. So, and a couple other things to touch on. Sorry, on my phone. Okay, so then the other ones, I found this online because Chuck said lithium carbonate. Well, I found one, the website called cameochemicals.noaa.gov says lithium carbonate is a carbonate salt He is the CEO of the MDTC, and he makes $287,000. So keep that in mind and how much he's getting paid to help bring this here. Thank you.
Sean, is it Kowalski? I'm sorry if I'm, Sean? No? Okay. Jan, is it Hendriker? Bender? Jan? No. Okay. Norm McLean?
Yeah, I'm from Big Rapids Township.
Now, slide the switch up.
I'm Norm McLean from Big Rapids Township. I want to know why you guys never had a survey done and why that was never an option. Why all the counties around us, I know one of the east are townships. To the east had one, Big Rapids Township had one for all registered voters. The nearest township in New England County had one. I find that really disturbing, and that, I guess, says all, that you don't care what the residents think. I don't feel this is the United States of America that I grew up in. The local government doesn't care about what we think. The state government doesn't care. The federal government doesn't care anymore. Everything's just ran through. Everything's hidden. It's a giant shell game. Everybody, I go to all the board meetings for Big Rapids Township, Green Township. Everybody pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And then 10 minutes later, they just forget about their loyalty to America. I know I'm a history major. I taught history in the public schools for 16 years. I know a little bit about communism, socialism, and all the other isms, Nazism. And I can guarantee you that that Goshen is communist controlled. They're run by communists, the communist government. If you think that Chairman Mao, Chairman Xi today in China, Adolf Hitler in Germany, or Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union didn't control the industries, you have no idea what the word control is. There could be all kinds of different levels of ownership in that company, but all comes down from the top, and that's the communist government. And the last thing, I guess, if this is such a great venture, why did the state of Michigan need to contribute $750 million for them to buy the land? I don't understand it. Simple, honest questions. And then it's tax-free for 30 years. How in the world are we going to benefit from that? So it's okay if someone that's struggling goes out and starts a business and only get, you don't make a lot of money. It's okay if you tax me, but the wealthy Chinese come over here and build a huge manufacturing plant and they're not taxed? This is insane.
Rhonda?
This is on. Yep. I'm going to play on a little bit more on the can cause headache, muscle weakness, confusion, seizures, and coma, may cause a skin allergy, high exposure may affect the thyroid gland and heart function, and may damage the kidneys. Lithium carbonate may be a teratogen. It puts off gases when it catches on fire that are poisonous. However, let's see, I gotta go up. It has also been found to be a potential reproductive hazard. And the following, or the previous chronic health effects can occur at some time after exposure to lithium carbonate and can last for months or years. So it won't necessarily show the effects right away, it can show down the line. So to say that it's completely safe is BS. Now my last thing is more of a personal. The last meeting I was at, Mr. Chapman, you attacked me personally, verbally. And when I think about a representative doing this, and I've seen it several times, I've seen social media posts where you've attacked the intelligence of some women, and it's always women. I don't understand it. I just have to say, you do not intimidate me. You will not stop me from speaking, and you should be recalled just for your professional decor that you've been showing. That's all I have.
Joni Lewis.
I didn't intend to speak tonight, but sitting there listening to Chuck Thelen. Okay, so he's right. There's no Chinese. That means Goshen is a 6 to 7 year old company with no manufacturing experience, no access to raw materials, no supply lines. Is that who we are giving all of our infrastructure money to fix the damn roads with? To this one company. One company gets all of our infrastructure money. Of course, it's not just one. There's a Chinese company in Marshall, and there's another one. I think farther downstate, you got to share that too. He's one or the other. He can't be both. All of his slides at the House and Senate Appropriations Committees say Goshen High Tech. Because Goshen High Tech has the mines. They have the raw materials. They have probably the ships that will bring them here. They have the production experience. He lies so much. And then he talks about being transparent. The reason everybody is so angry is because there has been no transparency. We've been treated like we're stupid, and we don't like it. I don't think you would like it either. So they're either inexperienced and shouldn't be putting up a mega factory here that's going to be 6 times the size of Ice Mountain. I've been hearing 3 million square feet. Chuck Thelen told the House Appropriations Committee it will be 5.5 million square feet undergrowth by the time they are done with phase 2. That's massive. Way too big for our community. Our community won't be here anymore. So they're either Chinese, which means he's been lying, or they have no experience, and they have no business putting up a massive factory. He did tell you one thing that was true. They're not going to help with any of the damage that they do once they're up and running. They're not going to help fix that bridge over the expressway when those semis wear it down. They're not going to help with 220th when that gets broke down. 2 weeks to hire local people. Been planning this for years, and we get 2 weeks. And they're not even gonna use local excavators from what I can see, because they haven't talked to the largest ones in town, and they wanna break ground in a couple months. Anybody try to get an excavator to come and do a job like that with a month's notice? It's all lies.
All right, that being all those that signed up, thank everybody else for speaking. We have a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks. All right, thank